I spent time in Detroit, Michigan, probably between 8 and 10 years. I don't exactly know the exact amount of time. It doesn't matter as far as the length of time, but it does matter in the sense that whenever, I would come home to St. Louis. I grew up in St. Louis. I was born in St. Louis. My family's in St. Louis. Whenever I would want to come home for the holidays, for Thanksgiving and Christmas, I had to use either the roads, which was about a 10-hour drive, I believe, or flying. Flying after 9/11 has not been fun for me. Um, Sometimes the rates are okay, but domestic flights, the quality of them have gone down since I started on this planet. Um, Absolutely have gone down. The quality of the flight has been terrible, and just keeps getting worse. It's to the point now where if I'm going to fly anywhere, it's kind of like maybe I'll get there that day. I mean, you would never. I don't think anyone would ever schedule a domestic flight in the United States in 2022, like with maybe 2 hours before they have to get to their meeting or whatever reason they have to be at their next destination. I just don't think that anyone would do that because for some reason it's broken. Just like everything else, it seems to be a little broken. And of course, it's nobody's fault, right? There's no one to hold accountable. It's just broken. And so during the holidays, it's hard to travel. People are trying to get home. People that wouldn't normally be flying are flying, and they are not interested in how, like for instance, business class flyers fly a different way than people going on vacation. I mean, that's just the way it is. But you're all on the same plane, and so it's quite a diverse group of people. Now, add to that all the security measures, all the stuff that we've dealt with in the past 2-3 years for your health, and it's just made the experience that much worse. Now, I have a great amount of respect for pilots, for uh, I don't know what they're called. They were called stewardesses when I was a kid, but I don't know what they are now, and I'm apologizing uh, ahead of time. Um, I would think steward, but I don't know. Again, it's no big deal. I don't think. Um, but I mean, I have all the respect for the bag people, even though every time I fly, one of my bags is always broken. One of my hard suitcases is always cracked in half. Um, I don't begrudge any of those people. I think that I think they go to work and do their job in stressful situations. Some people don't like to fly. Some people, we don't all have the same values. And what we've been doing lately is if we did have values that were shared, we invite groups to destroy them. So, like, we just can't have nice things because we're constantly. Uh, it's just bad. It's just bad. So anyway, the first thing I wanted to talk about today was this Southwest thing, and we're going to go into it a pretty deep dive because um, I think it just kind of shows what what is going on in our society. It's a very fascinating thing. Let's get to the article. Let me share it with you. Let me see if I've got it right. I do. Here. It was on Google Trends, just so you know, if you're asking like why would you pull this up? I think I can offer things. Okay. So the headline has been changed. It used to be, Southwest Airlines, was in trouble and they got issues. This new headline says Buttigieg warns Southwest CEO he will hold airline accountable after meltdown. Um, you know, uh, uh, Endless platitudes from this administration, as in all. He's not going to do anything. He's too busy with other responsibilities. It says Southwest Airlines operational meltdown has put the Dallas headquartered company under serious scrutiny, not only from stranded passengers and media reports, but from U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg as well. Now, look, what is he supposed to do exactly? What is he supposed to do? He has a cabinet level position. What is he going to do? Is he going to say, "Oh, I think it's fine"? Okay. Oh, I think it's great that people are stranded in different places due to weather and all kinds of other unforeseen circumstances. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying, what is he supposed to say? Is he supposed to say it's okay? And it's easy. It's easy to go say, "Hey, you guys suck. You're doing a terrible job. I'm gonna bring down the full federal government on you." Now, look, if you want to get into it and look and see what the federal government, the FAA, and all these people have done with the domestic airlines over the past 10 years, um, maybe that's something you should pay attention to. But anyway, it says he spoke directly to Southwest CEO Bob Jordan on Tuesday about the thousands of flights that have been canceled this week with no immediate indication of when passengers can rebook. Okay, so what? Now, no offense. What is like? What is Pete Buttigieg known for? Not that. What is he? What is he like? What has he done? Like, what does he know about transportation? It's the same argument one would say about Ben Carson, who I have tremendous amount of respect for. But what did he do with housing? Like when he became the HUD secretary. These jobs to me are kind of like jobs that are given for your political cronies that helped you win the election. Like this is like the ambassador to Sweden type position. Now, that's what it's become. So I don't particularly care. Like if the transportation secretary called me tomorrow, I wouldn't care. I mean, really. And this guy, the Southwest CEO, is in such a bad spot right now. The fact that he had time to talk to the transportation secretary, hmm, maybe that's why the company's not doing so well. It says their system really has completely melted down. It's true. I believe that. I made clear that our department will be holding them accountable for their responsibilities to customers, both to get them through this situation and to make sure this can't happen again. This happens literally every year. The quality of flights have did you see Spirit Airlines like what, a year ago or 2? The quality of flight, domestic flight in the United States is absolutely an abomination. It's disgusting. The planes are dirty. It's a terrible time. Uh, I mean, just awful. And the economics, I mean, on CNBC back when they were like somewhat responsible, and they did a study on, I think it was American Airlines, and it talked about like, look, if they don't fly full, they don't make money. Like they don't make money. And so they have to have routes that balance. I mean, they have to have good routes that balance out the bad routes. And I mean, it's not as easy as one would think. Okay. But as far as um you're gonna hold them account, like look, if you had to get to work and you're stuck somewhere, it's ruined. It's over. There's nothing you're gonna do. It's a bad situation. So I mean, great. The government's gonna pay more attention. You know, okay. Oh, okay. I mean, there's only so many airlines. Passengers booked with beleaguered Southwest Airlines have been hoping for some needed relief on cancellations and delays, but those hopes so far are being dashed. Well, like I would like the new Corvette. Like I really would. It looks awesome. Okay. It's an American car. It's just great. Okay. But I mean, I'm hoping for it, but I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get it. It says of the more than 2,600 cancellations already made for Wednesday, nearly all of them belong to Southwest. And so what you might say is, look, John, how is it that other airlines are able to function and Southwest is the only one that can't function? Because it hits different airlines at different times. Okay. This is terrible. I mean, you're in it now, but it's also terrible if you tried to drive through the winter storm the other week. It's terrible. Buffalo, New York, terrible situation. There's a lot of bad. It says all other US airlines together account for just roughly 140 of those cancellations. I want to try something. Let me look it up. Okay. Okay. Good. That's what I thought. Okay. So it says all other U.S. airlines together account for just 140 of those cancellations. Look, anyone that gets their flight canceled, anyone that gets their flight delayed, it sucks. It sucks. What if you miss your the next leg of your travel? It sucks. It says the latest flight cancellation and delay figures. It says a look at the current numbers show why Buttigieg is so concerned. Again, I mean, he's concerned about highways. He's concerned about shipping. He's concerned about a lot of things. I don't know why it matters that he's concerned. What is he? If he wasn't concerned, I think there'd be a problem. It says about 3,260 flights within, into, or out of the United States have already been canceled for Tuesday as of 8:30 at night, according to flight tracking website FlightAware. Of those canceled flights, about some 2,675 were those of Southwest. That's almost 2/3 of all Southwest flights for Tuesday, and a stunning 85% of all flights in the United States. All right. It says, by contrast, competitors American Airlines had 10% of its flight canceled, and United Airlines only had 3%. Okay. It says airports most affected by the Tuesday cancellations are Denver International, followed by Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas. Now, I mean, there you go. I mean, that's all you need to know. Chicago Midway, Baltimore Washington International, Nashville International, and Dallas Love Field. Now, I'm just asking, what other airline, what other airports are named after a senator? There are more than 6,400 delays as of 8:30 p.m. I think you're going to see a lot of things. Richard Shelby in Alabama, I think you're going to see a lot of things that are named for him, but I don't think he got the airport. It says there were more than 6,400 delays as of 8:30 p.m. Tuesday. 6,400 delays, 3,260 flights delayed. Today's cancellations followed a full day of post-Christmas travel chaos with 3,989 flights canceled on Monday, 2,900, let's just say, of those being Southwest flights. So you've got 1,000 other flights being screwed up in the United States, and now it's just a situation where it's like all those other airlines get a pass because Southwest is doing such a terrible job. Now this hurts me, and we'll go over that later. It says Buttigieg takes Southwest to task. It says Southwest has blamed the travel disaster on a combination of factors, including winter storm delays, aggressive flight scheduling, and outdated infrastructure. From what I can tell, Southwest is unable to locate even where their own crews are, let alone passengers, let alone baggage, said Buttigieg, adding that he also spoke with leaders of the airlines unions representing flight attendants and pilots. Like, what's that going to do? Do you think those people that are union pilots and flight attendants are like, oh, hey, I really, really want this situation to happen. I'm really excited about getting on the plane and getting yelled at by passengers. You know, I mean, seriously. It says the secretary, and by the way, why is this article about Pete Buttigieg and not about the people that are being stranded? Said he told Jordan that he expects Southwest to proactively offer refunds and expense reimbursement to affected passengers without having them to ask. Without them having to ask. Well, I think that's fair. I conveyed to the CEO our expectation that they go above and beyond and take care of passengers and to address this. I mean, okay. It says Buttigieg told CNN the Department of Transportation is prepared to pursue fines against Southwest if there is evidence that the company has failed to meet its legal obligations. But he added that the department will be taking a closer look at consistent customer service problems at the airline. I'm not aware of Southwest having any more issues with customer service than any other company. I'll just say this out loud. I flew Lufthansa to Bosnia. Well, I flew to Ljubljana, Slovenia. I've not gotten my miles and more. I've not gotten that taken care of. 6 months it's been. I'm going to lose the miles. The only reason why I flew them was, number one, there was a direct flight from St. Louis because I didn't trust domestic flights to get me to any of the other places. I didn't trust him to get me to Chicago. I didn't trust him to get me to Atlanta. I didn't expect him to get me to Detroit, New Jersey. None of those places did I expect a domestic airline to be able to get me to on time to fly over across the country, across the world. I didn't. That was what, October? I mean, we're watching this stuff happen, and you say, well, the secretary's on it. It's not his job. No offense. No offense. Where's the loss? I mean, where is the loss? Where does it happen? Like, if an airline just screws you over as a traveler, like, what do they suffer? They don't suffer anything. There's no skin in the game for these companies anymore. It says, while all the other parts of the aviation system have been moving forward toward recovery and getting better each day, it's actually been moving the opposite direction with this airline. Now, see, how do you say that? How do you know? You've got a company here that's got a lot of cleaning up to do. He said, look, let's start with this. Okay. Let's start. I couldn't have been more than 12 years old. My aunt got tickets on Southwest for me to fly to Oklahoma. Okay. And it was an odd experience, but a fun experience. You had these plastic seat vouchers. The security for the airport was nothing. You flew in the East Terminal in St. Louis, Missouri. The East Terminal was, there was nobody in it. We have two terminals. We have the East Terminal, and I think now it's Terminal 1 and Terminal 2. But you could fly in, literally get right on the plane, fly out. The service was wonderful. The people working there were wonderful. If you look in the mid-90s, I'm sure you will find Southwest Airlines business, like for your MBA or something, people talking about who Southwest Airlines would hire. They were the envy of all airline passengers and airline traffic. They were wonderful. Now, that was with this guy, Gary Keller, I think it's Gary Keller, Herb Keller. Okay. He's dead. Okay. And this company has veered off so far from the ideal flight company. They started acquiring airlines. I mean, it's just, what the hell? Like, I don't even know who this CEO is. I've never heard of him. I don't know if this is the same guy they had a while back that was a terrible CEO. But I do know this. They're a public company. And they exist for the benefits of their shareholders, and they do not exist any longer for the benefit of their clients, their customers. This is true throughout corporate America. The people that are on the boards want them to cut, and never, ever, ever invest in infrastructure. Never, ever, ever. So these people aren't even allowed. Like, if you're CEO, you're cutting expenses, always cutting expenses. Never, ever, ever adding expenses, like, figuring out a way to get all of your back end operations to actually work. They're probably using stuff from 1987. I wouldn't be surprised if basically an Apple iPhone is stronger than the entire mainframe that they're using for their scheduling. It says, Jordan apologized to passengers and employees in a video statement released by the company on Tuesday evening. We're doing everything we can to return to a normal operation. And please also hear that I'm truly sorry, he said. He is sorry. I have no doubt. I mean, he's not stuck somewhere, but he's sorry for the people that are. It says, while Jordan acknowledged problems with the company response, which I don't know, what are they going to do? Like, what were they going to do? What was their response going to be? They were going to bring in more pilots. Can't do that. It said the statement suggested that he did not foresee massive changes to Southwest procedures in response to the mass cancellation. Why would they? Why would you change your response? Okay. Like, it's not obvious. The tools we use to recover from disruption serve us well 99% of the time. But clearly we need to double down on our already existing plans to upgrade systems for these extreme circumstances so that we never again face what's happening right now, said Jordan. So we're optimistic to be back on track before next week. Well, that's pretty unacceptable. It's pretty unacceptable. I mean, why is it that it's going to take you a week to get your stuff together? I mean, and then as far as The tools we use to recover from disruption serve us well 99% of the time. Have you seen in the last, I don't know, 5 years, an on-time survey from any of the airlines? Like, do you know who's even number one? Do you even know how they would qualify that? Is that a fake number that somebody, designed in marketing, you know, 15 years ago, and it's just kind of gone away because they're all so terrible? Like, this is one of those things, I've been talking about. I don't feel like things are getting better. I don't feel like my life is getting better. In the time I've lived it, I don't think my life is getting better. This is another indication that things are not better than they were when I was born. Airline flights when I was younger were better than they are now. And how can that be? We didn't have phones, okay? We barely had printers. I mean, the idea of printing off your ticket was just such a revolutionary idea. I mean, we had literal, they would send you the hard copies of the ticket. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. So it says, what can Southwest passengers do? Nothing. You're screwed. You're not going to have a good situation. Like that here, that's what you should do. Stop assuming that things are going to go well. Okay, because they're not. It's a terrible situation. It says Southwest has warned that this week's cancellations and delays are expected to continue for several more days. Now, why do people fly Southwest? Do they fly Southwest because they like delays? No. Do they care? No, they just want to get to their place. They're literally looking for the cheapest airline possible to get them where they can go and they want to go. It doesn't matter if it's American Airlines, United Airlines. There is no one even close to brand specific for domestic flights in the United States. There's no way. Again, I told you my rationale for using Lufthansa. Okay. The reason I used Lufthansa was I wanted the miles because I was flying 2,000 miles across the globe. I thought that would be good. And now I can't even get the miles. And they're out of Germany. Okay. So, and by the way, I've emailed, I've called, I've done everything they've asked. I get nothing. And it's not in my spam. I check my spam. Okay. They literally don't have their stuff together. Okay. Says, so where does that leave customers who are in a real jam? What should they do? Well, that's interesting. Let's see what they say. First things first, travelers who are still stuck waiting on Southwest and need to get somewhere should try to book a flight with another airline as soon as possible. Right now, really, said Kyle Potter, executive editor at the travel advice website, Thrifty Travel, in an email to CN and Travel late Tuesday afternoon. Look, tell me, like, when I do take this flight from, first of all, there was 1,000 other flights canceled today. You're going to tell me that I'm going to be able to call someone. I'm going to be able to call someone and find a flight out of the airport I'm already stuck at, knowing full well that Southwest flies out mainly out of like they fly out of Midway, kind of B terminals. Maybe they've gotten better. I haven't looked at their entire places they fly anymore, but it used to be they'd be at like some off airport, never exactly get to the main one. It says airline now, so he says you need to get somewhere and should try to book a flight with another airline as soon as possible. Right now, really. And then he says every airline in the country is jam-packed right now, so your odds of even finding a seat, let alone an even halfway decent price, gets smaller by the hour. Travelers in the thick of this should be sure to save all of their receipts, other flights, a rental car, nights at the hotel, meals, anything. So now it's like, okay, we're going to spend all of our money. Like, we're going to live it up. Like, we're going to rent a car. We're going to drive across the United States. We're going to eat at steakhouses, and we're going to bill Southwest for that. Okay. Look, no offense. How's that going to fix Southwest? You're going to punish them? It's just ridiculous. It's as ridiculous as Pete Buttigieg saying that he's going to do something. What is he going to do? Literally. Says if you've been left in the lurch and your efforts to reach a customer service agent are going nowhere, the founder of Scott's Cheap Flights suggests trying an international number. Oh. The main hotline for the U.S. airlines will be clogged with other passengers getting rebooked. To get through to an agent quickly, call any one of the airline's dozens of international offices. Agents can handle your reservation just like U.S.-based ones can, but there's virtually no way to get through. Let me get this straight. Domestic airline. Southwest. I can't call. I got a problem. This is again, this is where customer service fell off a cliff, and it's intentional. I got to call Southwest. Okay. I need them, but they're not going to be able to answer the phone. So now I'm screwed. I mean, what am I doing? So I'm calling an international number so that they can get through and do what for me? It's so bad. And I'll invoke this. I remember 9/11. They shut down the airlines for God knows how long. I don't remember again the specifics. I was like in my 20s, and I know people that rented cars or even outright bought cars and drove them across the United States to get to where they needed to go. Now we all understood at the time that, like, hey, this is an extraordinary situation, but extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. It says multiplying problems. Southwest was hit particularly hard because of a cascade of issues. Oh, okay. I mean, I'm okay with that. The storm slammed two of its biggest hubs, Chicago and Denver, at a time when winter ailments were stretching staff rosters. Southwest's aggressive schedule and underinvestment have also been blamed. I will say this: who is controlling the investment at Southwest? It's the shareholders. It's the activist board members. Why you're on an airline board, I have no idea. If Warren Buffett couldn't make money on the domestic airlines like United, how are you going to do that? Carl Icahn tried to run TWA. It was a terrible disaster. He's not an idiot. He's still around. It says the winter storm that swept across the country was ill-timed for travelers who had started pushing Christmas week flying numbers back toward pre-pandemic. I don't want to hear about the pandemic. I don't want to hear any excuses about the pandemic in anything at all. I don't want to hear about it. This was not the pandemic's problem. This was people don't know how to run things, not running things. On Christmas Day, 3,178 flights were canceled and 6,870 were delayed, according to FlightAware. 6,870 flights in the United States in one single day were delayed. Okay? And do you think that's acceptable? Whether it's Southwest or any other airline, do you think that's acceptable? And what do you do about it? Oh, well, I'm never going to fly Southwest again. Okay, well, what are you going to fly? Are they going to be delayed? Then you can't use that measure. Unfortunately, you can't use that measure to be the determining factor for what airline you choose. Friday was the worst day of this streak with 5,934 cancellations, while Thursday saw almost 2,700 cancellations. Look, you want to get home to see your family, okay? You are probably flying for two reasons. One, it's cheaper. Two, you expect them to take care of that problem. I mean, they do this every day, right? You don't drive across the country every day unless you're a truck driver. Okay. So these people should be able to handle this. This is their job. This is what they do. This is how they make money. They get people from A to B, right? At the Southwest ticket counter in Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta Airport on Tuesday morning, long lines were already building up as travelers waited to try to rebook flights or make connections. And at Chicago Midway's International, a huge buildup of unclaimed babs piled up as the passengers struggled to reclaim their luggage. There were similar scenes at other airports, including Harry Reid in Las Vegas and William P. Hobby Airport in Houston. Now, I'm going to go to a different screen. I'm going to ask, who is William Hobby? Is he a senator? I'm also going to spell it right. William P. Hobby was the governor of the state of Texas. Okay. I suppose that's who's being who's being remembered at their airport. So the governor gets their name on one, I guess. Again, I could be wrong. It's just the internet. It says, passenger Trisha Jones told CNN at the airport in Atlanta that she and her partner had been traveling for 5 days, trying to get home to Wichita, Kansas, after disembarking from a cruise at Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's taken her 5 days to get to Wichita from Fort Lauderdale. Now, look, I don't know that this makes any sense. It says after her flight was canceled, she stayed with relatives, then rerouted to Atlanta to pick up a connecting flight. We're fortunate because we were in Fort Lauderdale. My family lives in the Tampa Bay area. So we're able to rent a car to go see my family for Christmas. We've seen a lot of families who are sleeping on the floor. It just breaks my heart. Yes, I am a germaphobe. The idea of sleeping or sitting on an airport floor makes me want to vomit. And when I see other people do it, I also want to vomit. I just don't understand. Like, it's gross. It's gross. It's gross. I don't want to take off my shoes for the same reason. When I walk through the security line, it's just like, this is gross. This is disgusting. This is absolutely nuts. But they don't ask me. They don't ask me. Now, I don't know how it took her 5 days to get from Florida to Wichita, Kansas. I don't understand. It looks like she just stayed with her friends or family in Fort Lauderdale. I just don't feel like this was the right story for this article. It says, Southwest, keep your receipts. Oh, okay. A spokesman for Southwest Airlines said the recent winter storm is to blame for the cascade of cancellations. As the storm continued to sweep across the country, it continued to impact many of our larger stations. And so the cancellations just compiled one after other, or compiled to 100 to 150 to 1,000. Jay McVeigh said in a news conference at Houston's William T. Hobby Airport on Monday night. With those cancellations, and as a result, we end up with flight crews and airplanes that are out of place and not in the cities that they need to be to continue to run our operations. True. Totally true. Totally acceptable. Like, I totally buy that as what happened. It says, McVeigh said the company's first priority right now is safety. We want to make sure we operate these flights safely and that we have the flight crews that have legal and sufficient time to operate these flights. Now, look, I don't think it has to be safety. And here's why. Pilots can only fly so long. They can only do so many hours, and then they're out, and they're not allowed to fly anymore. Okay? They're not allowed to go over hours. Flight attendants aren't allowed to go over hours. So there's no like, oh, we're gonna fly extra flights and get this taken care of. No, this is a highly regulated industry, probably one of the most regulated industries in the United States. Okay, so I don't want to hear about how safety is your first priority. I mean, obviously, okay. Your first priority should be getting people to where they're supposed to be going. Okay, and apologizing profusely, daily. I'm so sorry this happened. Like, we will do everything we can, or we need to do, to right the challenges we've had right now, including hotels, ride assistance, vans, rental cars, to try and make sure these folks get home as quickly as possible. Okay. Like, what's wrong with that statement? I don't have anything wrong with it. Do you? I mean, okay, again, you should. It says he promised that all customers, even those who had already left the airport or made alternative arrangements on their own, would also be taken care of. Now, if you've already left, take care of yourself. Do what you need to do to your family, for your family. Keep your receipts. We'll make sure they're taken care of. That is not a question. I'm just looking at the stock today. Okay, it's down 5%. Okay, it's down 5%. Last year at this time, or November 28th. Okay. Well, oh, that's a month. Here, let's do 6 months. October of 2022, it was $30.84. Today, it's $33.94. I mean, as far as the day being terrible, I mean, it's not great. It's not great, but it's not like no, no one's worried about them. They're fine. Let's go. It says, what's wrong from a pilot's point of view? Okay. Speaking to CNN on Tuesday, the vice president of the Southwest Airlines Pilot Association, Captain Mike Santaro, said the problems facing Southwest were the worst disruptions he'd experienced in 16 years at the airlines. He described last week's storm as a catalyst that helped trigger major technical issues. What went wrong is that our IT infrastructure for scheduling software is vastly outdated, he said. It can't handle the number of pilots, flight attendants that we have in the system, or with our complex route network. We don't have the normal hub the other major airlines do. We do fly a point-to-point network, which can put our crews in the wrong places without airplanes. He added, it's frustrating for the pilots, the flight attendants, and especially our passengers. We are tired of apologizing for Southwest. The pilots in the airline, our hearts go out to all the passengers. They really do. I agree with that. I have no problem with the pilots union saying, look, they don't invest in their stuff. Now, Southwest, the crony capitalists in Southwest would say, well, we're so busy spending money on your salaries, we don't have any money left over for infrastructure. Hey, you're a public company. Tell me why you don't have enough money. Tell me what's going on. What does this mean? I really don't have any sympathy for anyone in this situation in the management of Southwest. I mean, your only job is to make sure that this can be done. The busiest time of the year and you can't figure out how to work it. I mean, this is like the rolling blackouts. We didn't have rolling blackouts in the 70s, and yet we do in 2022. What the hell's wrong with those people? In other developments, it says I'm not gonna. I don't know. I don't care about it. Look, Buffalo, New York, it's not good. And Greyhound, which hasn't been good for my entire life, isn't doing well in the Northeast. There you go. So again, let me go over a few points. One, I don't care about Buttigieg saying anything. He's gone after this administration is gone, whether that be 4 years or 8 years. Then he'll get a job somewhere else because he's a crony guy, and they're all cronies. So I don't really care about him at all, not even a little bit, other than to talk about him and say I don't care about him. The airline's not going to be held accountable. The people that are involved in this aren't going to be fired. Even if they step down, they've got a golden parachute and they'll be fine. Okay. We can be sad that this happened to people. Okay. I don't think people booked on Southwest saying, oh man, they're really going to screw this up. Like, that doesn't seem like a reason to book with them. And we can ask ourselves, are the policies that are being written both by the government and by the private companies in this space, highly regulated, are these causing more problems now than they did 20 years ago? And why is that? And what can we do to stop this from happening? Not happening again, but the quality of the airline, again, the quality of the flights suck across the board. Why? Is it the regulations? Is it because people don't care? I care. I hate bad flights. When I see video of passengers fighting on an airline, it makes me sick to my stomach. Okay. It's just the reason why they're fighting is because they're in a very stressful situation. They're being treated like lab rats in a freaking aluminum container. And then you're surprised when people snap. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Are the airlines going to get fixed in my lifetime? No. No. Why? Because the people that are growing up now have come to accept that this is the quality of the service they can expect to receive. They have never known a time when the airlines didn't suck. I screwed something up. I need to do something real quick. So that's what I think about Southwest. My heart breaks for Southwest. They were innovators. They deserved their success, and then they blew it. They blew it a couple different ways. They wanted me to advocate for them to be able to fly a different way from Love Field in Dallas. That I didn't like the way they did it. And then I'm a little bit behind here. Then there was one CEO that I don't think I really. Oh, they changed the rewards and stuff to where you had to. I don't know. I wasn't getting my rewards. Didn't like that. I don't know, like, would I fly Southwest right now? I don't care. Domestically, sure. Because what are you gonna find better and cheaper? And would you trust it? I don't know how many of you remember there was this company. I don't even remember where they were from, but it was like it was the start of the discount jets, the discount airfare airline. And they were flying like these air containers, and one of them blew up and killed a bunch of people in Florida. That wasn't cool. It wasn't good. I remember that. And I've always been kind of suspect of the discount, but I always felt good flying Southwest. Now their pricing structure is different now. It's sad. I mean, like I try to look at like what is better, and you say, well, we have phones, John. They can they can do all these wild and wacky things, but yeah, but look at what's going on with the phones. Like your kids are literally their eyes are stapled to their phone all day, looking at things that are very unhealthy. You have teenage girls that see all these models and stuff on Instagram all day long, and all they want to do. And then the Instagram models are saying what their diets are, and these kids are like, "Well, if anybody's going to like me, self-esteem issues, all that stuff, terrible, terrible." Online mobs of people. I'm just, I'm just so disappointed. Um, man, I like, uh, not to be too religious. The idea you put your faith in God and not man. How many times have you been disappointed by someone or some organization or some group? Like, I've always wanted to point out to my kids, like, hey, this is a great organization. Like, they do good, or they are good. They're good. Like the things they carry themselves. Vince Lombardi wanted to win, and that was good. Vince Lombardi is not someone that anyone talks about now. Um, were there companies that you could look up to back in the day? See, it's the well has been so poisoned. You could have looked up to Southwest in the mid '90s. Southwest Airlines. We're an amazing organization. Anybody else? You could say like soda companies, but man, that soda is pretty bad for you. That's not really that great. Cereal companies, not great. Um, like Apple. Do you really think Apple's the same company that it was with the 1984 Orwell commercial? They are literally a parody of themselves. They are the group that is enforcing all of this stuff. And don't blame what the guy that's running it now. It started under it started under Steve Jobs. It was Tim Cook. It started under Jobs. He saw the writing on the wall. The minute that you knew they were in trouble is when they had all this money that they had offshored, or they never reshored the money for tax loopholes, and they got hauled in front of. They had $0 for lobbying, and then the next year I think they were like number one or number two. So I don't want to hear about Apple. But anyway, you try to athletes, you try to point to your kids out, you try to point someone out that's like good, and like you want them to embody those characteristics. And who is that these days? Like literally, who is that? Who do you tell your kids like, "Hey, that guy or that gal, she's or he's just on point. You should look up to that guy or that girl." They do it the right way. It's just not possible. There's nobody. There's nobody. It's just bizarre. We can't look up to anybody or anything because they so disappoint us. I hope I'm not coming with too much fire back from a Christmas break.